Let me take you back almost 2,000 years to a small, dusty city most people today have never heard of. Colossae. It wasn't powerful, it wasn't wealthy, it wasn't famous. It was the kind of place you'd drive by without even noticing. And yet, this forgotten little town received one of the most powerful letters ever written. A letter from a man in chains. A letter that still speaks directly into the chaos of a world that we live in today. Let's talk about the book of Colossians. Colossae sat in the Lycus Valley in what we now call Turkey. It used to be a thriving trade city. By the time Paul wrote to them, it had been faded into the background. Bigger cities nearby, Laodice and Hierapolis, had taken the spotlight. Colossae was ordinary, overlooked, unimpressive. And to be honest with you, that's the awesome part about it, because God chose a place the world ignored to receive a message that would echo throughout history. Maybe that's the first lesson we can learn today. God doesn't need you to be famous, influential, or impressive to speak into your life. The church in Colossae didn't start with Paul. It started with a man named Epaphras. Picture this. Epaphras travels to Ephesus and hears Paul preach. His life is changed. He brings the gospel back home and he starts a church. And it grows. But as the church grows, so does confusion. Strange teachings start creeping in, a mix of Jewish legalism, pagan mysticism, and early ideas that would later become Gnosticism. People were blending Jesus with whatever spiritual trend sounded good. Does this kind of sound familiar to you? Epaphras is overwhelmed, so he travels hundreds of miles on foot, all the way to Rome, where Paul is imprisoned, to ask for help. Now imagine Paul. He's under house arrest, chained to a Roman guard. He can't travel. He can't preach in prison. He can't visit the churches he loves, but he can write. And when Epaphras tells him what's happening in Colossae, Paul picks up a pen, and with chains on his wrists, he dictates a letter that would reshape their understanding of Jesus. Sometimes God does his greatest work in our most limited seasons. Paul doesn't start with rules. He doesn't start with behavior. He starts with Jesus. Because the Colossians weren't rejecting Jesus. They were redefining him. They were saying, Jesus is great, but maybe also we need angels. Jesus is powerful, but maybe we also need special knowledge. Jesus is Lord, but maybe we also need rituals. Paul responds with one of the most breathtaking descriptions of Christ ever written. He is the image of the invisible God. All things were created through him and for him. Paul is saying you don't need Jesus plus anything. You just need Jesus. And honestly, we're really not that different from the Colossians. Today, we see a mix of Jesus with self-help, manifesting, astrology, positive vibes, and whatever spiritual trend is blowing up online. We live in a world where everyone builds their own truth, where spirituality is a buffet, where Jesus becomes just one option among many. Colossians cuts through all of that and says, Christ is supreme, Christ is enough, and Christ is the center. After Paul lifts their eyes to Jesus, he turns to their lives. He says, put off anger, put off lust, put off greed, put off slander, and put on compassion, put on patience, put on forgiveness, put on love. It's a picture of transformation, not behavior modification. And if that doesn't speak to today's world, I don't know what does. We live in a culture of outrage, a culture of comparison, and a culture of division. Colossians gives us a blueprint for a different kind of life. Paul doesn't stop at the heart. He goes into the home. Paul talks about marriage and parenting and work ethic, speech, prayer. He's saying if Jesus is Lord, it should show up in your everyday life, not just in church, not just in your beliefs, but in how you treat people, how you speak, how you work, how you love. So here's the story: a forgotten city, a worried pastor, a chained apostle, and a letter that still whispers to us today. Christ is enough. Christ is supreme, and Christ is the center. The Colossians needed that reminder, and to be honest, maybe we do too. And if this message encouraged you today, take a moment to like this video so more people can hear it. And if you want to keep exploring the Bible in a way that feels real and practical and rooted in history, hit the subscribe button. Join me for the next one. We're just getting started. Thanks, everyone. Have a good one. Bye.